Hello once again, all you Italian Terrapins, to the finale of the Showa era specific. Mel here, and here's also my co-host Katherine.
Hello, I'm here.
And yeah, we're out of the Showa era with this one.
Yup, it's it
And
definitely feels like an end of an era.
Yeah. Before we get to that, what have you been up to?
Let's see. As far as like Toku and Toku adjacent stuff goes, after like 3 months, I finally finished Kamen Rider Gaim.
Oh, how was that?
Kamen Rider Gaim is, I think it's a good show, but it always makes just enough missteps or things that I don't find particularly interesting to never really feel like it's a great show.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I think it's a very up and down show. Like, if I was to sort of like chart a line between the things that I like the least in Gaim and the things I like the most in Gaim, there would be a pretty big gap between the two ends of the line. I think,
real peaks and valleys shit.
Yeah, it's a real peaks and valleys show, I think. Broadly, I guess to sort of go over the characters real quick, Kota and Kaito are okay. It feels like they often bounce between being very interesting and very tropey, depending on what exact plot beat is happening in the story at any given moment. I really like Michi. Michi is a very dynamic and multifaceted character, and it's really fun watching him descend into being like a complete shitface.
Yeah, he's a controversial guy.
he's a really fun character. Like, I would have liked Gaim so much less if he was not in it, because I think generally when he's the focus, the show and its character writing are at its strongest. The themes were okay. How should I put this? Kamen Rider Gaim, in a lot of ways, feels like it is a bit of a hodgepodge of stuff from other Kamen Riders and also stuff from other Urobuchi stories. There's I guess sort of to give just a few examples, there's a lot of Ryuki kind of in the riders fighting each other for absolute power premise. There's a lot of Blade, I think, in how it sort of specifically handles the riders are turning into the monsters they fight thing. It's got some Phis with the like corporate stuff. And like it's fun to see Urobuchi sort of mix together these different ideas from Kamen Rider shows that he very clearly likes. But But, and I think this is the asterisk here, I think sometimes it gets to the point where I'm not really sure if the show feels like it quite has its own identity, or when it is homaging stuff, it feels like it's not executing it as well as the shows that it homages.
Right. Yeah.
And I think you can also definitely see that in the Modica aspects as well, because there's pretty significant portions of this show are also just Modica Magica. Um, but whenever it's aping Modica Magica, it's not as good as Modica Magica, but few things are. Um, um, I also watched
How do you like Melon Boy?
uh Melon Boy is good. I watched Gaim Gaiden Zangetsu, which is the stage show. I thought that was really good.
Oh yeah.
Takatora is one of my favorite writers from that show. Maybe one of my favorite writers. You know.
He's got a good
Period.
Kachidoki arms upgrade, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the special does a good job of making sure what's the word? It does a good job of developing Takatora's character necessarily without necessarily just turning him into a normal hero figure, which I think would have been a little boring.
Yeah. I think it's really funny that he's kind of like the scary antagonist for the first half of the story, and then he just interacts with Kota as a person, and he's like, Michi, I'm coming around with my friend. He's a really good guy once you get to know him, and this is the part where Michi is at his mouth seething towards.
Yeah, it's
the funniest thing ever.
It's a real. I don't know if I'm sure you've seen Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, but it's a real fucking Terry Osborn's dad likes Peter Parker more than him moment. But yeah, I think it's a good show. I just sometimes it feels like it's right on the cusp of being a great show, and I feel like it never gets there consistently.
Right. I feel like I don't care as much for the soda upgrades.
Yeah, I'm not into Gaim's aesthetics, to be honest.
Oh, I like a bunch of them, but just not the soda ones.
That's fair.
But I like I like the banana, I like the orange, I like the melon.
Right.
For me, it works better than it should.
No, that's fair. But yeah, it's an interesting show.
I don't entirely know why the final battle is between the two people it's between, but it is cool when the song plays and they go through all their forms.
Yes, it is cool when this. I found the final battle to be pretty underwhelming, and also just a lot of the Wait, do you mean the final episode or the final episode that was a movie epilogue tie-in thingy?
No, the action. I meant the climax.
Yes.
Not
Okay.
the weird epilogue of Jam or whatever.
Okay. Yes. Yes. I found the climax to be and the actual ending to be pretty underwhelming. At least with how it's done with Kota and the other character. I think the actual epilogue where it's all the other characters is really good, but I don't much care for the climax.
It is good when you realize that the song that plays during the final battle is a duet between those two characters.
That is really good.
Even if though that song is also just associated with Kota's final form, but yeah, it's just been a while since I've seen Gaim.
Yeah, it's an interesting show. It's an ups and downs.
Can you see how maybe it influenced the future stuff?
The only show I've seen that takes place after Gaim, like in production wise, is Build.
Oh wait, Build, right?
Yeah, and I don't think there's that much Build. Gaim and Build. Build is sort of doing more its own thing.
I think just mostly because I think we start getting the inflation of writers. Not like that. Once Gaim comes.
Yeah, Gaim definitely does have a lot of writers, and so does Build.
Like Drive has kind of returned to like the, I want to say it's the double through to Wizard format, but really it's kind of more like the Deno to Wizard format, where there's mostly just like 2 and then like a couple extra maybe, but then you get like, I feel like, I guess I keep forgetting Ghost exists because I didn't finish the show. I don't think it's good.
Yeah,
but,
I've not exactly
and
heard.
Definitely go more in the.
Not heard good things about Ghost.
Let's go to OP.
I believe it. I'll check it out after the pod.
Yeah, Ghost is like one of, I guess the number's like 4 now. Your rider shows I kind of just dropped.
What are the other 3?
Saber, Revice, and Ibiki.
Right, yes, that makes sense. I think we've talked about your feelings on most of these in previous episodes.
Yeah. The OP of Revice sure is. It features the kind of deuteragonous mascot rider rapping while his voice actor is notable for wearing blackface.
Oh, that does not sound good.
Which was unfortunate when, like, not last year, but 2 years ago, I did, like, my rewatch of Penguin Drum. And I was like, dang, Kanba's voice actor sounds familiar, but I can't put my finger on it. But I bet he seems like a good voice actor. I wonder who he is. And I looked up and I was like, oh no, it's the blackface guy.
Oh no!
But yeah, have you got anything else about Gaim or just more Togu stuff?
No, not particularly. Next up on the list is O's. And after that it'll probably be X8.
I gotta believe. I'm not sure what was in their drinks when they came up with X8. I mean, I guess after Gaim anything happened, but like somehow like Fruit Samurai was like less bonkers than video game doctors.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't seen more Gav. Even that show's like about to end literally in like 2 weeks or something.
Oh,
or 1 week.
That's the perfect time to catch up.
Yeah. People saying like it's actually gonna stick the landing, which is like, oh wow, damn, crazy. A
Yeah,
Rider show that actually sticks the landing.
we love to see.
Uh, I can't speak to Gotchard, so I won't. But like the last Reiwa Rider show I finished was Geats, and I was like, there was stretch of the show that I definitely enjoyed, but also by the end of it, I was like, this is kind of a wet blanket.
Yeah, we hate to see it.
It did have like a subplot that kept my attention through to like basically the last 4 episodes at least, but you know, it was also like by that point in the show, it was like the only thing I cared about.
Yeah, that tracks.
Geats written by the same writer as X8, so I guess look forward to that. He's apparently writing the next show, which has a gratuitous generative AI, it seems. I don't even know if I'm going to watch that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the degree to which spoons have not been a thing have meant I have not watched much Toku. I guess like I watched The Fantastic Voyage, that one movie that was inspired to go into the body stuff, but that's, you know, it's okay. I talked about it in an Ultra Q a few weeks ago. It's kind of whatever. Cool special effects, but it's not like a great plot.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, I feel like I'm lower energy than.
No, you've been having a rough time. Don't worry about it.
Oh, have I? I won't get into it though. But anyway, I will say that there is an anime I finished recently.
Oh, what is that?
But I won't talk about it now because you and I might have a
Oh,
separate
yes.
conversation to be
Okay.
revealed later about it.
Yes. Okay.
It's a secret, but look forward to it. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, it's basically been like. Yeah, I just haven't been able to do much. I've been gaming a little bit, but not much. Like I've been playing Phantasy Star 2 on the Genesis, which I feel like is a game designed for lunatics.
Tell me a little more.
So I'm just gonna show you an image of a dungeon out of context.
Sure.
There's a launch title for the Sega Genesis, also known as the Mega Drive.
Alright,
this is a map of the control tower where you have to navigate a maze of teleporters to get to a piano to get some card keys.
Oh no! Oh no!
Also, you have to specifically use a spell to play the piano and not actually interact with the piano, because if you just interact with the piano, you get kicked to the entrance. For some reason.
I guess. Okay, I understand everything.
I don't know other games like this, except for maybe budgetary, like not budget, but time constraints, because it was like rushed out to be a launch title for the Mega Drive Genesis.
Right. I mean, yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm trying to currently rush through the first 3 Phantasy Stars, so I can get ready to play the 4th one, because one of my favorite podcasts is an RPG podcast, is going to play that for its next season. So,
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
They're almost done Lunar, the Silver Star story complete, a game which has taken them over a year, and they're like, damn, this is one of our longest seasons for a really short game with lots of text but not a lot to actually say. They're kind of very fatigued by the end. The podcast is called Retrograde Amnesia, by the way, just so we're aware.
Okay.
Oh. But yeah, gotta finish 2 and then do 3, and then I'll be in the clear for 4. But the way the pace of things are going, I'll probably be like behind when they get to start 4. So. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think.
Right. Yeah, shall we hop into Gamera time?
Yeah. Okay, we're good. Anyway, yeah. Production on this movie. The dead speak. Somehow, Gamera has returned.
It's been 9 years?
Yeah. So there's last one was 71 and this is 1980. So despite going bankrupt, Dai was somehow revived in 1974 by the publishing company Tokuma Shoten as a subsidiary. It seems unionized workers at Dai were able to appeal to the president of Tokuma, Yasuyoshi Tokuma, who was a fan of Dai's works. It seems they put a few movies here and there. It doesn't seem like they've had like a crazy output. And it also seems like there are some things, like there was kind of resurgence. I talk about this in sort of like the first episode of our Ultraman 80 season, that there's kind of like resurgence in the late 70s of like, oh, people are paying attention to older, earlier properties from the 60s and earlier 70s once the sort of the Space Battleship Yamato movie hits. And so people are going back to the old Godzilla movies, old Ultraman shows, etc.
Right.
And so Tokuma's like, oh, hey, we should capitalize on that by producing a new Gamera movie. But also we should make it on the cheap, because we don't know how profitable it's going to be. And it does seem like there isn't really much of a kaiju boom, so it may have been a risk to go for a big budget movie anyway. But the degree to which they cut corners on this movie is a kind of insane. Incidentally, director Noriaki Iwasa is back for his final Gamera movie. And at this point, he's established himself as a major TV director. In fact, this very year, 1980, he is also the head director of Subaraya Productions' own revival of their classic media property, Ultraman 80, which is the current season we're covering on the main show right now. So it's funny timing.
That is funny timing.
Anyway, because they have zero money, they basically reused a lot of footage for the fight scenes and special effects scenes, with very few original special effects in this movie. And you can tell. I also think you can tell that the few times they do their own special effects, it looks kind of bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or at least they're like really. Some of this might just be due to I think the most of the unique effects in the movie are using some fancy new compositing tech. I think it's called the Totsu ECG system, and it's kind of like some weird green screen stuff that I think I've noticed this in like the older like remastered Ultraman episodes, because like we're watching them in like the HD and stuff, but like it does seem that something about the process of compositing or like green screening or whatever, it does just kind of like lock in the quality of the film for all time, which means that you'll be watching like a normal shot that's like remastered. It's like, oh man, this is like the most crisp HD thing I've ever seen, even though it's from the 60s or 70s. And then you get to a green screen shot and this becomes the most 144p thing in for 5 seconds. It's really crusty.
No, incredible.
We also have antagonistic spaceship, the Xenon spacecraft, which is definitely not an Imperial Star Destroyer. By the way, Star Wars came out between this and the last movie.
There's another movie I suspect may have been an influence on this movie that came out in between the last movie and this one.
Which one?
Christopher Reeve's Superman.
Oh, I need to see that at some point. I saw the 2025 Superman. But yeah, I guess yeah, that is 1979, isn't it?
Yeah.
That makes sense. That is actually a good call for the why there's like caped women in this movie. They should make the Donner cut of a Gamera sewer monster. Anyway, we do have a brief model of Gamera flying around, made by EX Productions, but again, not a lot of money to work with. So there were some plans to make a remote controlled mouth moving type mechanism, but that didn't work out. And I guess yeah, I don't know. We get weird cameos by different manga and anime properties for some reason. And this may have been a Tokuma mandate, but I also couldn't confirm the degree to which Tokuma was actually involved with these IPs, so I'm not sure, but it's it's weird. We'll get to it. Some of these are more notable and weird than others. I feel like much like the creators of this movie, I decided to cut corners with talk about the cast, so I won't talk about too much of them. But I will say that one of the female leads of this movie, specifically the one who does the most talking and showing up on screen, Kirara, is played by the pro wrestler Mach Fumiake, who I think was also kind of starting a singing career at this time. So maybe she's dipping her toes into acting. So that's cool. Probably explains one of the scenes later in this movie that she's a pro wrestler.
Oh yeah, that does explain a lot.
Anyway, yeah, and as for like contemporaries, I'm lazy. Go listen to the first Ultraman 80 episode from like a month ago. And it's 1980. It's the same stuff. Yeah, I don't need to repeat this stuff. But yeah. Also worth noting that the Japanese name for this movie is Space Monster Gamera. So which I mean, I don't know if it's actually accurate, but whatever. Would you like my summary?
Go for it.
Alright, so here's the summary for Gamera Super Monster. Yes, I've seen Star Wars. I've also seen these fights. Somehow I'm enthralled. These space girls are pretty cool. I'm not quite sure what I watched.
Yeah, you put it really good. You put it really well. You really summarized this movie.
Speaking of, I think this opening credit sequence is not exactly like Star Wars, but kind of reminds me of Star Wars. In a way I don't know how to describe, because it's not doing like the word crawl, but it's just like the way that like, there's yellow text and white text on a starry background.
Yeah,
Law song plays.
Star Wars has hit culture.
And then after that we get an exposition of space, and also how the war isn't just on Earth, it's also in space. There's some form of wars among the stars, turns the camera, and then all this is done via like panning shots over matte paintings, because they're don't have enough money to do an actual space battle, so we just get like still shots. And we get the introduced Xenon spaceship, which is a space pirate space empire thing, and it looks really aggressively like the fucking Imperial Star Destroyer, including like the way that like when you actually get the first shot of it in motion, like they do the exact same thing where it's like, oh, you have it's like coming in from the top of the screen and you see how big it is, kind of thing. It's really goofy. It's just because it doesn't look as good because of the whole cheap compositing effects. But importantly, this ship heads to Earth, and we get introduced to 3 grown women, which is a new thing for Gamera compared to previous stuff.
Yes, it's true. I'm surprised how prominent women were in this movie.
It's refreshing compared to like 2 kids who can't act.
That's true.
So we have Kirara, who owns a pet shop, Mitan, who's a kindergarten teacher, and Marsha, who's a car salesman. And they all get like psychic radio voice calls in their ears, and then they all turn into Cape superheroes. And one of the most wild things happens where Kirara gets in her van, is driving the highway, starts playing a bit on a keyboard, and then the van turns into an orb that goes into the sky, and then the other women enter the orb, and I was losing my mind. And then these effects are also not very good. It looks really crusty, but it's kind of delightful. And then inside the orb is just like fucking white curtains. And then the Xenon are like, oh, we know there's some space going on here. We gotta surrender. We're gonna conquer the Earth. And this is where we get Giruke landing on Earth as sort of like the goth evil space woman for Xenon. Who she shocks some creeper guys, so whatever. But like, yeah, she's on the prowl. She talks to Xenon with an ordinary wristwatch. The most normal looking wristwatch in the world. It's actually kind of distracting how normal it is.
Yeah.
What do you think of this one? I guess we'll talk about her more later in her arc, but
she's a fun character, and she has an arc.
Yeah, she does have one. That's pretty cool. We also get Keiichi, who's our protagonist, because we do have another child protagonist, except this one is more of a character than the previous ones. He's a kid who likes playing piano, and really likes turtles. We get a weird sequence where Keiichi's, I guess, going to piano lessons he doesn't actually go to, but does meet his friends who are reading manga about various things, including like Kinnikuman, and also Gamera manga. And then they briefly run into a cop who, like the friendly local cop at the police box, who has a turtle, and they're like, "Hey, you're just like this character in this manga. It's a gag manga." And I'm like, I don't remember the name of this manga, but this is just a reference to the manga. And he's like, I'm not like the cop in this manga. I'm just looking after this turtle." And then he makes a pun about Shonen Jump, and the kids are like rolling their eyes. I wrote this down only because I thought this cop would be an important character in this movie, but he never shows up again. So I'm like, well, this is actually incredibly awkward and simpler for the scene. What was your reaction to this scene?
What was my reaction to this scene? I watched this one a bit late at night, so it was a bit of a haze for me. The early parts, because I was like trying to put myself in, wake up to watch the movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of just like whatever scene. It's just like really bizarre that this happened.
Yes.
Like this guy, these kids, none of these people except Keiichi show up again in the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I guess, okay, so I guess that's kind of the thing, is that I didn't have much of a reaction to this scene when I watched it, because I just kind of assumed it was a normal scene in the continuity of the movie, but it feels like it's
and it
from...
turns out it's just a weird outlier.
Yeah, it feels like it's a scene from a much earlier version of what this movie is that I probably enjoy less.
Yeah, that's maybe a good call, because it does feel like a bit in the mode of like some of the previous movies we watched in like the post-Virus era of movies.
Yes.
Anyway, Keiichi goes to Kira's shop, and she's like, "Yeah, you can have this turtle for free. Why not? You're my bro." And she's like, "No, I want this one. This is the one I can talk to somehow. Don't worry about it."
I think
Kira's like, "Yeah."
I think an ability to communicate with turtles is just what's the word? What's the word? It's a like genetic ability of all children in the Gamera universe.
Yeah. This whole like setup part does seem to be like evoking like the first movie.
Yeah, I had the same thought.
Just with the kid who, yeah. So yeah, it's definitely intentional. Obviously, it's obviously a callback, but it's basically the setup is he has this fondness for the turtle that his parents find annoying, and his mom kind of like manipulates him into like, well, maybe he's really happy if he'd be out in the wild, and extremely trying to be like, please get this turtle out of here, especially because she can't stand how he keeps singing about the turtle. But the thing is, he's like, I'm just gonna ask the turtle with my turtle telekinesis how he feels about it, and then we'll see. And then he's kind of dumbfounded when the turtle's like, well, actually, yes, I would like to be in the wild. I don't a cage isn't preferable to the wilderness. And he's like, well, fuck me. I guess I have to release you now. You know what? I guess you got me there. I guess I will do this. I guess I will release you into the river. But I will be sad about it. Though it did feel kind of slimy the way the mom was like, wouldn't it be good to put it in the river? I bet he'd like it.
Yes.
Worth noting that in between like him getting the turtle and him releasing the turtle, we get just reused footage from Gauss. This is part where the clip show part of the movie comes, where oh yeah, Gauss awakens and shoots down a helicopter. We've seen that fight in the third movie. Like every kaiju scene is basically reused footage.
Yes, they did not have money to make new kaiju. If you want me to be honest, I think they were banking on the idea that most of the audience would be kids who weren't alive or did not
Yeah,
see the
who haven't seen the movies.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's in a way that's reasonable. I just think it's like the few times they have original special effects featuring Gamera, like as a new model, it it looks worse than the reused footage.
Yes.
This is a bizarre. This is one of the most bizarre movies I've ever seen. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of like a more. It's like we talked about how Virus was like not a movie, and also was like half reused footage. And this is kind of like that, but up to 11. But somehow it is a more of a movie in a way that confounds me.
Yes, that's the really funny part. Is like you would expect the clip show movie to be even more. We're just going by the motions. That there's like no energy in any of this, but somehow it has more energy than like the past four.
Yeah, I guess to be fair, like Virus also had a lot of energy, but that's probably because it's it's two child leads that were actually like fun.
That's true.
Because remember, it was Jimmy Neutron, Foy Genius, and the guy with the lasso. So, and it's also like 70 minutes, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. Which does make it less of a movie just out of length, but also is in and out. But yeah, we get the reused footage of Gauss attacking Nagoya, and we have Marsha stuck in traffic, and she decides to just like, I'm going to use my superpowers to cheat. And we get a funny gag of like the guy behind her in traffic just going, what?
Yes.
But then her cart.
I really feel like what happened between the years of the last movie and this one is that we live in a world where superheroes exist now.
Yeah, but also the public doesn't notice them.
Yes, I mean in real life, it feels like the superhero boom has happened.
Oh, right, yeah. I guess that's where you mentioned, yeah, like Christopher Reeve, Superman. Which makes sense. Yeah, so we get Giruge detects the teleporting car and like lets Zenon know, which means we get the delightful scene of like her car teleports up onto the roof with like the other girls, and they're like get out of the car, and then the fucking spaceship snipes her from orbit, and it's crazy. And this ship will be doing this a lot, this movie, and it's great every time. And basically the space women are like, well, we can't transform or else we'll be sniped from orbit, but also someone has to kill Gauss because Gauss is fucking up the city. Which it had done like a decade ago, but no one remembers. So the next day, Keiichi like goes into Akira's store, but it's locked, so he just walks up to her house because he can do that. Now the other girl women are there, and she's like, "Oh, hey, these guys," and she's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just my girls, my gal pals." And he's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, I let go of your turtle," and she's like, "You know what? That's actually good, probably. You're okay, kid." And then he sees that she has a keyboard. He's like, "Whoa, you also play the piano?" And he also decides to play a song. I think I read that like the original Gamera March, they couldn't get the rights for to use in this movie, so they just use a different one, which is the one he sings.
Yes,
I don't know what's up with that.
Yes, it is funny that they were like, this child is the composer of the Gamera March in universe.
Yeah, and then Keiichi kind of just says out of pocket, it's like, "Yeah, I let go of that turtle, but it'd be cool if that turtle became Gamera for some reason and beat Gauss." Anyway, and Kiara's like, well, this kid is praying for Gamera to beat the kaiju, so maybe we should actually go beat the kaiju. And then they try and do this by going to like the playground, and for some reason they will be going to this specific playground a lot during the second half of this movie, because I guess maybe they have the money budget for like 3 sets. And then once again they like they transform, and then the spaceship immediately snipes them from orbit, and they have to dodge roll, and then de-transform is like, okay, let's not do that again. So fucking...
It's a great...
What the fuck? I was having a great time yesterday.
No, this is a really fun movie.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some things that are fun intentionally, and some things I think are fun unintentionally, just because it's such a slapdash movie. But I think it, the different formula and like the characters it has help make it like an actually like. I think they're doing a decent job with like the framing device, like drama human scenes, and it just feels stranger with like the really compromised special effects stuff.
Yes.
Because really, it's basically like when you get like, oh, we're reusing footage, or the few special effects we have are like the ugliest thing I've ever seen. That really kind of takes you out of it. Like, damn, this movie is scuffed. But when you actually just in like the normal scenes of like Kira interacting with Keiichi, it's like, oh, this is just good. This is like up there with like the better stuff we've seen, which is it's an interesting contrast, really. But yeah, suddenly Gamera shows up, and we get this. It's really kind of like this first shot of like one of the few shots of like Gamera as like an actual new special effects scene, but it's like really really ugly. Like we mentioned, like something about the way they're filming this is just it does not transfer really well.
No, and the fact that there's so much old footage that looks a lot better really doesn't help.
Yeah. And for a reason, I guess because it's a model and not a suit, they have to like have it really zoomed in. Like it's always like really zoomed in on the Gamera in a way that's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Anyway, Keiichi is like, oh yeah, Gamera, that's my Gamera. It's definitely my pet turtle. And I guess it might as well be. I guess it's like one of those things where even like in the first movie is also ambiguous, except in I don't know. It's more ambiguous here, I think. Basically, Girige overhears Keiichi. He's like, well, I'm going to ask this kid about what's up with that, because he seems to know what's up. Because she basically spends this whole movie assuming Gamera is, like, related to or, like psychically tied to the space woman, and continues to be befuddled that Gamera is an independent energy with an independent power source who is of this earth.
Yeah.
We get, I think, another reused scene where it's like the reporters want to catch Gyaos, and I think this is literally just a scene from versus Gyaos, because it is just the scene where Gyaos cuts the car in half. Which to be fair is a good gag scene with a good special effects, but it also is funny, like, oh, this is just these, not even just the fight scene, they just use this specific like gag scene for use is really strange. But then Gamera comes and fights Gyaos, but it's the scene where like halfway through the movie where they fight in the harbor and like the baseball field, and Gamera technically loses this one, so
yeah,
which does lead to the next scene, which is also baffling, where Girige like hangs out and waits for Keiichi outside of school to talk to him after when he leaves class, and kind of taunts him like, Gamera lost, and if Gamera fights Gyaos again tonight, he's gonna lose. And he's like, oh yeah, bet Gamera will definitely win. And then once Girige leaves, he is kind of just like to his friend's wife. That's such a strange thing for her to say, though. Like, what's up with that? What's up with that?
It's great.
Why did she say that? And then, we get like the, again, reuse footage. Gyaos is killed by Gamera this time, because, as it happened in the movie that you watched. If you want to know how all his fights go listen to our earlier podcasts. And yeah, so they kind of just like the space women watch this on their like personal psychic TV that can see anything. And like, oh yeah, Gauss must have been controlled by Xenon, who happened to destroy the homeworld. Oh, we just got that dropped. And you know, Keiichi is like has a psychic link with Gamera because he is the child protagonist movie. Of course he does, and he's just kind of dreaming about Gamera. And he's like, oh yeah, Gamera won. I know this because I saw it in my dreams. And Gyru's like, well, I don't know how Gamera won, but I guess I'm being told to kidnap this child to win because he seems related to all this. And then we get a really weird scene where after this, Keiichi wakes up, and I don't know if I misinterpret the scene, but you know, Keiichi's like, oh yeah, Gamera beat Gyaos, and there seems to be the idea that like there's a media blackout on the kaiju, so his mom thinks the kaiju is fake, and is like, oh, silly child, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Is that what your sub said?
Yeah, it was something like that. It's weird because I think it's meant to, in a way, this is gonna be a very funny thing to say about this scene. It kind of shows sort of what you could probably call a thematic tension in this movie, because I think it obviously it wants to go for like, it's like, oh, the children are like the ones who understand the truth of the world, and the adults don't. It's a kids movie staple. It's in
Yeah.
a lot of these. But the thing is, despite them vaguely, what's the word? Despite them sort of vaguely playing in that thematic space, I think this movie is basically a movie about how older sisters are awesome. Like, it's not really got that,
Yeah.
like, anti-adult thematic thingy in it. Except for
Yeah,
that one
because like
bit.
most of the like there's only one child's character who like really has any presence, and then the rest of the characters who are important are all adults, which is interesting compared to the movies that were previous to this one. And yeah, it's just weird that like kaiju were happening, and the mom is just like, no, that's not real. In a way that's like less believable than in even previous movies. But either way, Keiichi has a psychic premonition about the next attack, which is going to be Zekra. Because like, oh, the next attack will be by the sea, and then tells Kira about it. And Kira kind of sees this as like bribes Keiichi with hamburgers to get more info. And I don't know, it's a weird scene because like Keiichi goes to tell Kira at her shop, then Gyuri takes Keiichi elsewhere to have burgers, and they cut back to the shop where she's trying to read Kira's alien readings on her normal watch that she has on her wrist. And she's like, well, she has to be an alien, but I'm not getting readings. That must be because of her human disguise, which is somehow impervious to alien readings. So therefore she's like, well, Keiichi, you want to just go to the beach, where, the next battle will be? Also close your eyes. And then she puts him in the teleportation dimension, and he's just like thrown around in the psychedelic trippy zone for a bit. And he's like, damn, that would feel like throwing up, but on the beach. Yeah. We're getting to the point where the rest of the movie becomes clear as the people who made this movie are very aware that Gauss is one of the more popular kaiju, and so therefore gets multiple rounds against Gamera in a way that the other kaiju do not.
Yeah.
And so we basically get Gyurge first saying, "Oh, you know what? I am actually a space woman. I am revealing this to you, but I'm fighting for peace. Also, check out Zekra, destroy that ship, but don't worry about it." And Keiichi's like, "It fucking blew up the ship though, because it did that last movie, because they were all series footage." And then Gamera shows up, and then you get the Zekra fight, which presumably might even be sliced between multiple fights for that movie. And we get the repeat of the xylophone thing, because very important to get all of the iconic moments that the kids didn't see repeated.
Yeah.
And then Keiichi says, Gamera, burn it with your fire breath, because he has seen the script of the previous movie. So that's what Gamera does. And so Gyurge is like, man, what's up with this Gamera? I can't get the alien readings from him, because she does not realize the Gamera is of this Earth, despite the fact this movie in Japan is called Gamera Space Monster. And then...
Okay, are we sure it's not
like,
supposed to be Gamera, Space Monster, not Gamera Space Monster?
I don't think there's a comma in the
but,
Japanese writing. So.
Yeah, but I'm like intent-wise.
I'm not really sure. But anyway, Keiichi's like, I want to go home, and I also don't want to take the teleporter because it made me sick. Can I just take the train home? And Gyurge very forcefully and threateningly tries to force him to stay in a way that's unnerving. And Keiichi's response to this is like, oh, I get it. You're a bad guy. Not because of this thing you're doing, but specifically because you aren't, like, joyful when Gamera killed the other kaiju.
Yes, I thought that was a really funny way.
Anyway, so Gyurge is like chasing after Keiichi now. Incidentally, Mom at this point asks Kara if Keiichi's been around, because he's been around here a lot. So Kara goes back to her room and like uses her keyboard TV to spy on him on the beach, and then she presses some buttons, and Keiichi's able to go through into her TV into her apartment, which she's able to teleport to safety, which is kind of fun. And both Keiichi and Gyurge are like, what the fuck just happened? At this point, Keiichi's like, well, okay, so obviously you and the other three girls are the real heroic space woman. And Kira's like, well, yes. I can't deny that after showing you this. And Gyurge gets told by her bosses, hey, you only get one more chance and you have to support Virus. So then, while this is happening, Kira takes Keiichi to the roof and shows her the van in the box, and is like, okay, we at night we sleep by shrinking ourselves and putting this into the box, and this box has a force field, and this lets us stay hidden. We can't put the force field around the entire van because that takes a lot of energy, so that's why we shrink ourselves. And so that lets us be in our super forms, our true forms without, like, detection. Once again, she has to, like, henshin and dehenshin really fast, because they're always getting sniped. And then I feel like the way this movie is sets up, it's implying that Virus is fighting Gamera on the exact same beach, which is really fun.
Yeah, I had that thought too. The iconic beach.
Yuri hasn't left. And so we just get that set fight again. At this point, they're just like, they're showing the fight. They put like a music in the background, I guess, because they're replacing the audio or whatever. And Gamera wins. And Gyurge is also blamed for Gamera winning again. And then she's like, well, give me more chance. I'm going to defeat the space woman when I haven't fought now. And Xion's like, why didn't you fight them before? Why didn't you kill them before? And she's like, oh, I didn't know for sure. But now I'm sure. And now I know. I know for sure. I have a good idea. Meanwhile, Keiichi's like, yeah, I'll keep quiet. And the other space girls are like, okay, well, I hope he's honest. Also, we took all our paid time off, so we were ready for a final assault. And Keiichi goes to sleep, and in his dream, Gamera encounters footage of the space battleship Yamato.
That was
like, what the fuck is happening?
I felt like I was tripping with that bit.
Why is it here? It's not even. He's literally just here for a dream sequence. What the fuck is it doing here?
What were they cooking?
Uh, not even the only Leiji Matsumoto in this movie. We'll get to that. But Keiichi is like, you know what? It would be cool if Gamera actually met the Space Shipiano for real. But it's not. It's fake. Anyway, Gyarados has a bomb on the space woman's van, and it just kind of poofs out of existence. Keiichi shows up. He's like, "Oh, they closed the shop, so I'm gonna go to the roof." But the van is gone. But somehow the bag with the bag is fine. And you're like, "Oh damn, the force field. It's all good." But then they're like, well, we even found out we're gonna get this bag into the shop so we can get back to the apartment, which is more safe of base, I guess, compared to the van. Why this wasn't just in the apartment to begin with, why it had to be in the van is beyond me. But Keiichi does have to like sneak in, kind of, because it's like he goes into the shop and Gyarados shows up. He's like, "Oh hey, is the store closed? Is the store owner there?" And Keiichi's like, "Yeah, she's gone. Can you leave?" And then Gyarados leaves. He's like, "Oh, this definitely means they're dead." But they're not. And so Gyarados, satisfied they're dead, teleports to Kyoto, really low resolution, so we can get the versus Jiger fight. And this is the part where I go, this clusterfuck of a movie that has stitched together this reused footage from the previous two movies is also probably more enjoyable than a bunch of these movies that the original fights were from.
Yes.
Which is kind of depressing. Like, that's that feels wrong to say, but it is true. Like, look at the runtime of like that one. Like, the last one we did was like only an hour, right?
Yeah,
had nothing to say because it was basically, oh man, we've seen like 4 of these already.
Yeah, it's
and like it's not like Jiger was that exciting.
I feel like the stuff with the like magical girl superheroes really gives this movie its own identity.
Yeah, I think like the actual Keiichi space girl human drama scene stuff is like, it's pretty good for this kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
like, if this would probably be like a less unhinged and more normal movie if they just had enough of a budget to actually film Gamera fighting original monsters instead of relying on reused footage to do like a fucking boss rush.
It's true.
Fuck, is this fucking Gamera at the Wily Castle at the end of the Showa era going through all the Mega Man bosses?
You're so right.
But anyway, Gyarados surprises Gamera is alive because she hasn't clued on to the fact that Gamera is an independent entity that has nothing to do with Space Woman. And then, meanwhile, Keiichi and the girls watch the fight happen. Jiger get killed, except this was like they treat the death of Jiger as like the fight. They cut the fight off right before Jiger like impregnates Gamera, so to speak. And just like, oh, Jiger's dead now, which is just as well. Listen, whatever. We don't need this fucker. But then Gyarados like, one more chance. We have to make Gamera our ally by brainwashing him. And I'm like, oh no, we've done this before in the last movie that reused a lot of footage.
Yes,
So once again, Gamera is sniped from space and mind controlled, which results in, for the second time, reused footage of the Baragon Dam scene, where the context now is once again the Gamera has been mind controlled, and I'm losing my mind. What do you mean they did this a second time? This is also what the fuck is this?
No, this also made me go ballistic. It's insane.
Like this is literally like, you're not reusing the same footage in the exact same way as the last time I read this footage in the same context, I'm losing my mind. Why did they do this?
When you have to hand in the screenplay tomorrow and it's 2 a.m. and you haven't slept.
Yeah, and then also it just kind of ends in a moat where like Gamera's stomping on the ground and we get a sign that's like, in theaters now, new Godzilla movie, and it flops over. Except it's like not actually Godzilla, but like it's obviously a parody of Godzilla. And I'm like, you, not in this movie. You would have the right to do it in this movie. But it's kind of funny. And then we get another really bizarre scene where Keiichi and the girls are watching Gamera Rampage on TV. And I am convinced this is their way of reusing the black and white footage from the first movie to show Gamera rampaging. And it seems like they learned their lesson from Beerus by being like, we can't just put the black and white footage in this color movie. Instead, we're going to put the black and white footage on the television, and so we'll show it by showing the television, which makes sense. This is smart. But also it does mean we just have the camera lingering on a TV really zoomed out while we can kind of maybe see Gamera rampaging really blurry for like a whole minute or two. And I'm like, this is I wouldn't have done this.
It's an incredible. I don't know.
The camera's just pointed at the TV.
I don't know if it's a good creative choice. In fact, if anything, I'm inclined to say that it's a very bad creative choice. But it's a very funny one.
Yeah. And it's like a more normal, it's a better way of working around the fact that footage is black and white than fucking, it's just in the movie. I'm really not gonna comment on it.
That's true.
Anyway, they do some export stuff for the keyboard, and then like, well, okay, we're gonna load the mind control device. However, like, these superheroes who are supposed to preserve the peace have no means of actually fighting because of pacifists. And I'm like, well, how are you supposed to save anything?
It is true.
They do not answer this, but they're like, okay, Kiara's like, I'm going to transform, and they're going to snipe me from orbit, and so I'm going to use myself as bait, and I'll drag their attention, and when they try to aim for me, they will aim for the mind control device, and they'll solve the problem. She goes back to the singular playground they keep going to, and why they go to that playground to Henshin a lot, I don't know, but they do. She transforms the playground and does some like slipping and sliding through the laser barrage. She says, I'll only me transform because, you know, we don't want all three of us to just be shot out of orbit. This is reasonable. But anyway, yeah, she just kind of just like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and then she does it. It's like, oh, we're one and done really quickly, to be honest. So now Gamera's free, but then Giri walks up and pulls out a gun, which leads to the part where presumably Kira's actor, being a wrestler, comes in, where you just get a really sick fight of these two women fighting in a playground. It was like an actual fist fight. It's pretty cool.
It was kind of awesome.
We definitely haven't got a lot of these in this franchise so far, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And eventually, like, Giri, like, tries to shoot, but due to, I guess, like, injuries or dizziness, like, accidentally shoots her leg, and Kira points her gun point and is like, no, we're not pacifists, and for some reason throws out the gun. And so Giri is like, can't shoot after being shown some kindness, so I'll shoot myself, and then they stop her. And the movie says, anyway, there's a planet where all the kaiju come from. It's like a monster factory planet, and that's basically the excuse for why Gamera has to go fight Giron, and fights Giron and wins. And it's not, you know, whatever. And then as Gamera leaves the planet, he encounters the Galaxy Express 999.
I lost my goddamn mind.
Yeah. Well, that just happened. Anyway, Gyuri wakes up at Keiichi's home, and his mom's like, "Yeah, we were injured, and she's looking after you." And Keiichi sees you as like an older sister, kind of, and stuck by your side to be safe. And Gyuri's like, "Damn, even though I'm evil, he still sees me as a sister. That's so touching. I've never felt this love, this familial love before." And which leads us to the final kaiju movie, the final kaiju fight of the movie. Perhaps the best for last. Fucking Baragon is the final boss, which is fun.
Yeah.
Extremely funny that we get the fight. Well, one, Osaka has already been damaged by Jiger once this movie, because again, both movies were in Osaka. But we get the fight of Baragon in Osaka, but because they aren't having multiple rounds, they do kind of just immediately half the fight is in Osaka and half the fight's in the lake, and they don't make a really good smooth transition between them. And so you just kind of get Gamera just does beat Baragon in one round.
It's true.
But yeah, they're like, yeah, Gamera wins, and Keiichi's like, oh man, Gamera's gonna be back. So they all head to the park to welcome Gamera back. And then Gyoruga gets from her bosses saying, oh, they're gonna destroy Earth now, that all their kaiju are dead. And so Gyoruga sacrificed herself. She's being like, oh, you should aim directly at my coordinates. That's the space woman. And she lets herself get shot for some reason. I don't actually know what the point of this was. It wasn't very much of a sacrifice.
I think
they say it's a sacrifice, but I don't actually know what her motivation was.
Well, it's like she wants to sacrifice herself for these people who have shown her, some sort of kindness and basic decency.
Yeah, I guess it's just I guess that makes sense. She puts herself instead of putting others at risk. And then they're all very sad. Keiichi's sad, but Kira's like, oh well, she just sacrificed herself. And so is Gamera, because Gamera's going to blow up the spaceship, even though no one can do it, not even Gamera. And Keiichi's like, no, Gamera, don't sacrifice yourself. And then you get, both this Gamera model and also this Imperial Star Destroyer in the grodiest compositing reverse shot as they both approach each other really slowly and dramatically until Gamera collides and explodes, which incidentally is also how let me find it.
Go for it.
There's also how episode 34 of Ultraman ends, the Skydon episode, except in that episode the reverse shot is done really rapidly, and it's a fucking gag that Ultraman collides with the kaiju and explodes, but this is played seriously, and it was one of the most jarring things for me, where I'm like, this is this is the most ridiculous way they could have done any of this.
That's wild.
And so Gamera is dead now. Gamera sacrificed himself, and that's presumably why there isn't another movie for 15 years, because he's dead now. And yeah, Keiichi cries, but Kira's like, don't worry, it wasn't in vain, Earth's in peace now. And don't worry, after all you've done, Keiichi, you're also being adopted into the Spacemen. And so the three girls transform to superhero mode and just go take him flying through the night sky as a treat to make him feel better. And the credits roll at the end.
That was a movie.
It was, by all accounts, an object edited to be a movie. But yeah, what do we have to say about the final Gamera movie of the Showa era?
Again, it feels like it should be bad, but somehow it became enjoyable.
Yeah, it's I cannot call this a good movie by any measure, but it was entertaining and fun. And the human parts I'd still say are well done, especially compared to the previous ones.
Yes.
And so even though this is like a Frankenstein's monster of a thing pretending to be a movie, it's still it ranks higher than like probably like half the movies we've seen. Well, maybe not half, but like
no, I think probably
it's somehow it's
I feel like probably exactly
in the middle.
half. Yeah.
Like it's not as good as the first three movies because those are all competently made.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of on the fence. Like Guiron was like of the 70s kid Formula One, probably the better, more competent one, but also still like not as exciting as it could have been. Virus is also weird because like also a fucking mess, but also in hindsight, it being a mess is also made it more entertaining, and also having characters made it more entertaining than some of the movies that came after it. Like
yes, in hindsight, we didn't know how good we had it.
Yeah, we didn't know how good we had it with like the fucking 70-minute movie with half reused footage, which I guess is like this is a 90-minute movie, half reused footage, so whatever. Yeah, there's definitely at the very least I feel confident saying like this is better than versus Jagger and versus Zekra, which is crazy to me.
No, it is absolutely crazy.
It cannot be stressed enough how really ugly the fucking original special effects of this movie are.
Yes, like luckily there are not too many of those.
Like in a way, like even though it is like just it is kind of takes you out a bit to like just see reused footage. The reused footage by just looking good does take me out of the movie less than when they try and like film something new with Gamera or the spaceship. I'm just like, is there something wrong with the specific tech they're using? Like, it just, what the fuck is this? I don't know. It's strange.
That's a great way to describe this project. It's strange.
It's a very strange. This is just one of the strangest movies I've ever seen, ever. Like it's not even like what compares to this. Yeah, but yeah, I like the characters. I like Keiichi. As far as like kid leads in this movie, though, he's like one of the better ones. He may be one of the more memorable ones by the end. Kiara is cool. Like the other two girls don't get as much screen time, so we don't really know who they are. But like Kiara has like a personality. She has a good relationship with Keiichi. She gets a cool fight scene.
Yeah.
Gyurge as like a antagonist girl with a arc is also pretty good. She's a cool look, and again, she's a cool fight scene. And like even though this movie only has like basically like 3 characters, it's somehow that part of the story works.
Yes, that is better than
even
some
if it's like that scaffolding for a bunch of roll use footage.
Yes, that's the funny thing about this movie is it may only have 3 characters, but it has 3 characters, which is more than I can say about some of these.
Yeah, that's true. Like it has 3 characters, and like technically the previous movies had larger casts, so to speak, but there wasn't really anything to write home about in terms of like the kids or even like their parents.
Yeah.
Like I guess like Girona, like at best you had like the friendly cop and like the doubtful parents. But yeah, it's like it does seem like if they had money, they could have just made a normal Gamera movie that was pretty good.
That's true.
like, yeah, if you just if they just had the money to be like, yeah, we have a movie where we can just film actual special effects footage for Gamera to fight in new fight scenes, and had that as the counterpoint to the space woman story, then it might have been this is just like a normal Gamera movie. That's pretty good and rates higher, but instead it's a bizarre experiment. Not experiment on purpose, but just like the conditions.
Yeah, an experiment by circumstance.
In this essay, I will write how Gamera Super Monster validates Soviet montage theory. Is there more to say? Like, I feel like in some ways, like, much of what we had to say is just reacting.
Yeah, because
to what happened.
It's a fun. It's a fun movie. I can't call it a good movie in good faith,
Yeah.
but it's a fun movie. If I was doing the like curated Gamera watch list, this might actually make it on. It's surprising as that is to say.
Yeah, that is the weird thing. This is the thing I have to keep facing. It's like it's hard to like actually. Well, this definitely feels more of a movie than Virus, despite in some ways this and Virus being kind of the same as like entities. But this is kind of like more enjoyable than like the last 2 or 3 movies we've seen, and that's a weird thing to think about because those were like actual movies, but they were just boring. And this is like for both actual reasons and also ironic reasons, it is very entertaining. Like sometimes the special effects in this movie are just funny to look at, and also it is just like seeing really grody Gamera superimposed on Space Battleship Yamato footage for no reason.
Again, I lost my goddamn.
It's a trip. It's a trip.
It's a real trip.
Kind of a shame. This is the last chance you also had to like make a Gamera movie, but I guess that's just how it goes sometimes. It's fine. He's on Ultraman 80. It's actually not okay. Ultraman 80 is not going fine.
Oh no, is Ultra?
But, my co-hosts don't know this until next week.
Is Ultraman 80 not good?
There may be some production stuff that are displeasing to learn about as you watch the show, especially when the show starts pretty strong. But also, how we feel about the show when it ends will remain to be seen, because we're only about like 12 episodes in.
Right.
But yeah, I'm actually not sure what Noriyuki Yuasa gets up to after this. I know he like dies at some point. Yuasa, what's your passed away age 70 in June 2004. So he did live, and he died of a stroke. I know he did live to see the 90s trilogy, but I need to like see what he thought about them. But he did not live to see our final movie, which was in 2006.
Kind of bizarre that they haven't made a Gamera movie in
his
2
last
decades.
Yeah. This seems like the year to do it because it is the 60th anniversary, but Who knows? They did at least like, do the OVA, whatever, a couple years ago. But it says his last movie was the 1984 movie Anime-chan, which is, I know because that is a movie that was released as a double feature with Ultraman Story. So there's a Super Riot movie.
Oh, cool.
But also, for whatever reason, Anime-chan has never been re-released in any context. But it features... let me just see what it is. I think the plot summary is like a girl gets roommates in the form of the Super Riot Kaiju, Kanagon, Pigmon, and Busca, and this creates problems. She's like, well, please find a job. I need to pay for rent. Is what the summary seems to be. Which is a shame. It's just like, I guess, like lost media, or just like maybe just sit on Super Riot's shelf somewhere.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It does seem like, basically like he once Dai goes bankrupt. Yeah, looking at Wikipedia, like Dai goes bankrupt 1971, and like he basically stops making movies at that point. Like there's like 1971, and then Gamera Super Monster 1980 is his next movie after that. And it seems like after that he kind of just basically switches full time into television. And so even after even after Gamera Super Monster, his main career is like doing stuff for TV.
Right.
He did the 1978 Princess Comet, which also features Ultraman in some episodes. Yeah. But end of an era. Gonna start a new era next month with the 90s, the trilogy everyone likes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And then the last Heisei era movie is also really good, but it's a standalone movie. So we got bangers ahead, apparently.
Awesome.
It'd be disappointing if we didn't like them, but I presume we'll like them. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't.
All we can do is hope for the best.
Do we rank the kaiju even though there hasn't been a new kaiju?
No, I think if there hasn't been a new kaiju, then the rankings are probably exactly what they were last episode.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's no reason to think like why would any of them move up a rank?
Yeah, none of them would move up or down. We'll get back to the rankings next month, I think.
I guess technically in this movie, Gauss is like more impressive, but also it doesn't. If you look at it's cheating because all of this is reused footage. It's not like
exactly.
It's fake.
If it was old monsters with new footage, I'd be like, yeah, we can re-rank the kaiju, why not? But since it's old kaiju and old footage, I'm like...
Yeah. I'm gonna rank the fucking Battleship Yamato on this fucking list. No, we're not doing
that. No, that would be
I should have watched that at some point.
Yeah, same. It seems like a very... I don't know if it's really my type of show, but it does seem like a very important, like, historical...
Yeah.
Cultural artifact, so...
Like, I have a spreadsheet for, like, the Leiji Matsumoto stuff, but I'm also like, that's a lot of show. Like, Galaxy 999 is itself a lot of episodes to watch.
Right.
That is probably the one, like, I'm most interested in, but, it's still, like, a lot of TV. And that's not, there's Captain Harlock, there's other stuff, so on and so forth. So I'm not sure. I do feel like I should watch Yamato at some point just because, like, Gundam and Ideon and Macross sure ripping off that, more or less, so.
Right.
So just for that foundational stuff. Orgus 2, apparently, as well. Also, well, not always apparently. I mean, it is kind of just like also doing that, but just remember that My Tail technically shows up in Shinkalian Z. Anyway. Do we just leave now?
I mean, yeah, kind of. I don't know. I feel like we talked about this movie pretty thoroughly. We talked about,
Yeah, I mean, I get.
we probably talked about it for the length of non-stock footage there is in this movie.
Yeah, that's true. So give your plugs.
Yeah, I'm at Kimmy Katherine on Blue Sky, that whole thingy. Mismatchedwings.itch.io is where you can find my games at the moment. I may make my own dedicated site at some point, but I'll have to be a little less lazy for that. It'll happen, but not yet. Yeah, those are my plugs.
All right. You can send an email, maybe someone with a gamer email at some point, to altqpod@gmail.com. I guess we have a coffee, altq fund, and yeah, that's about it, really. Just next month, look forward to the 90s Gamera Garden of the Universe.
Yeah.
New era. New director.
Yeah, I'm guessing just a new creative team all around.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a point where it's like the number of years it necessitates just by life, more new people, new blood.
Yeah.
And by that point there'll have been a new resurgence in Godzilla movies that will also shape the scene. We'll talk about that when we get to that. It'll be a new world, which is interesting because now we're like past where the podcast is, because like most of the year we've been catching up to where the podcast is, and now we're like
right. Yeah, now
so
we're
like the 90s stuff until next year.
Yeah, that's pretty funny actually.
But yeah, all that more next time. So for now, give your sign off.
I'll see you all in the depths of Atlantis.
And I'll see you in Shell.